Thank you so much for joining me this time of the day. You are right on time, actually, because if you can look behind me, that is what do you call it? Some people call it a ship, some people call it a vessel. Can you see right there? It's moving. So it's just arriving into the port here in Durban. Obviously, you can see a lot of containers there. So that's the entry. That's the entry, the port entry, where it goes in, and then it goes all the way in. It's quite a big vessel or ship, you can call it. You can have a clear view now. Can you have a clear view now? See it moving, and it's coming in right inside. Obviously, there's quite a lot of what do you call it? Quite a lot of stuff that's been imported into the country. It's all in there. So this is the Durban port. I'm at the Durban port. I've been in Durban for quite a couple of days now. I'm going to be here for a week. So thank you so much for joining me here in Solomon's Temple. My name is Solomon Nizanga Shams, and people call me Uncle Solomon, which I gladly accepted. So thank you so much for joining me. In case you have not subscribed yet, please do so. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Solomon's Temple. There are great resources there that I'm sure will bless your life. So please subscribe right now and make sure you also tag other people. Yeah, so who do we have up here today? We have Pearl all the way from Midlands in Soweto. Thank you so much for joining me. I got Nelly saying, greetings, Kauso. I'd love to hear more about this topic. Okay. Um, Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. Greetings from Namibia, from Selma. Thank you, Selma. All the way from the Bronx in New York. Merch is saying hi. Thank you. Um, Thank you. Thank you. Pumla Urebi. Thanks, brother, for opening the eyes of our people. Pleasure. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Cindy, you're welcome. Right here, I'm in your province, KwaZulu Natal. Dr. Natasha Opoku, all the way from the US. From Alberton is Udoka. Thank you, Cindy. Quite a lot of KZN people here today, yeah? Judith from Centurion, thank you so much. Irene Robert, she said, hi, Uncle Solomon. I'm watching now from Egypt, but I'm from South Sudan. It's my first time to watch you live on YouTube. Thank you, Irene. It's great to have you here, especially being a sister from South Sudan. Rigobert said, this platform is so important for this generation. We need a lot like this one to keep it up, bro. Yes, I wish there's going to be other platforms that would share the same truth, have the same mandate. They might do it differently. That's all good. But speaking truth to power, unafraid to speak the truth, looking at scriptures and saying, look, this is what the Lord is saying to his people, without being afraid of anybody, without really trying to be friends with anyone. We want to be friends with God first before we are friends with anyone. So we put our relationship with God first before any other thing. That is very important. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you. There's quite a lot of comments here, but I appreciate every one of you. Justina from Paris. Bonjour. Thank you so much for joining me. And the Namibians are here in the house. More Namibians. And we got Kenelway from Botswana. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So I just quickly want to share something in the next 10 or 15 minutes, which is just about a pastor who was robbed while preaching. Now, I'm in Durban, and I'm in Durban for the rest of the week. And for those of you guys who are not South Africans or who don't know the geography of South Africa, Durban is a city by the coast, as you can see. This is the sea. Behind me is the Indian Ocean. This is a sailing club. So most of the cars you see here and over there, it's a sailing club where people take on They come chill, take their boats, they're sailing wherever they go in, and they into the sea. So I've been here, and Durban is in the province called KwaZulu Natal, which is about, Durban is from Joburg, it's about 6-7 hours drive. And whilst I was here 2 days ago, this incident happened. 2 evenings ago, this incident happened in this province, in Durban, right? So it happened in the place around a place called Pinetown, which is here in Durban. And it's a case of a pastor who, obviously, because of the COVID-19 and the restrictions in churches, how many people are allowed to attend a church service. Actually, last night, because of the new third wave of coronavirus, the COVID-19 in South Africa, the president of South Africa addressed the nation last night at 8 p.m. and he actually said, people who meet in public, if it's going to be indoors, in a hall, in a church, any sort of, if you're meeting under a roof, only 50 people are allowed to meet. So churches are only allowed to have 50 people for one service. If you're meeting outdoors, it's 100 people. So because of that, right from last year, a lot has changed. I'm sure a lot of ministries and pastors now started saying, look, how do we reach our people? And the best way to keep in touch with people, keep teaching and preaching, keep encouraging people, keep discipling people, is to do it online. So a lot of everything moved online, right? So you have your home cell group online, you have your women's meeting, you have all this kind of meeting online, and people maybe you do it via Zoom or any sort of platform. So 2 nights ago, this pastor here, he's a pastor of a church called City Hill in Pinetown, which is under the Apostolic Faith Mission in South Africa. He was preaching to his congregation that was online. So he was in his home preaching, but because there was an electricity problem, right, inside, that area, so they had to switch on the generator, but the generator was a bit noisy. So he had to now move out and find a place outside the house, within the same environment, outside the gate of the house, somewhere just by the street, just so people could hear him better, just so the interruption of the generator, the sound of the generator. In South Africa, they call it load shedding, when when the electricity goes off. In Nigeria, I'm Nigerian. Nigeria is a regular thing. The sounds of generator, your neighbor, you almost, if you're a big business, you must have a generator in Nigeria. If you also want to have constant electricity, you have to have generator or some sort of inverter or solar, that kind of thing. So he went out with his phone to continue preaching to the people that were online. And he was actually just bringing the session to a close when he now sort of like got robbed of his cell phone. Let me play you the video just so we can talk about it. So here is the video.
You believe what you believe and push into those actions. And then if you want a different path in front of you, start changing what you believe and who you believe. So to Leon, okay, you can have it. Yep. You can have it.
As you can see, he's not being mugged. He's not being robbed of his cell phone. So he just basically telling him, take it. I'm going to play this again because just watch. He's out in the street, obviously getting a good sort of like lighting behind him. And remember, it was like a selfie type video, so he could see everything that is happening behind him. Right? I'm not sure you listen to the voice. The voice is very faint, not so clear, but he was basically bringing it to a close and telling them, look, you have to look at your life this year and said, how have you walked with God this year? What have you done, that God has asked you to do? So he was encouraging them. He was encouraging those who were watching, who were with him online. And he said he noticed a car passed by, but he thought it was a regular, maybe Uber or Taxify that just passed by. So he didn't really take note of it, but he saw the car passing by. And then all of a sudden, he saw this guy coming. And lo and behold, the guy, when he came to him, he had a knife. He had a knife. That was why when he saw the knife, he was like, no, take the cell phone, take whatever. So let me play it for you again, maybe once or twice, so you can have a feel of it. Sorry about the sound. The sound is very, very, very faint.
I have many questions, but the one thing I know is I trust God. He is for us, He is with us, and He goes before us. So God bless you guys. And I want to tell you something. Sure. Look at your actions. Look at what you've done over the last year. Why have you done it? Why did you believe what you believe and push into those actions? And then, if you want a different path in front of you, start changing what you believe and who you believe.
As you notice now, then here's the guy, the one in black. The car passes by, they went, stopped, and then he now came. So obviously, they just like people that go around robbing people. It happens in South Africa. It happens, all around in Africa, all around the world. Some places are more severe than others. But now he now, when drop off the car, came in, and he's coming with a knife because he saw him, and he saw his cell phone, because remember, he was holding his cell phone this way and making the video. But then the pastor, who is Pastor Douglas, now obviously he can see him approaching him. And someone approaching you, and you look at them, you size them, and it says a lot about what their intention was. Let's continue.
So, to Leon.
And then he turned around, because obviously he was suspicious, and maybe he knows around this area, around this time, that's what some criminals do. And then he came in. There you go. He's telling him, no, you can take the phone, you can take the phone, you can take the phone. That was what he was telling him. You can take the phone, you can take the phone. Oh, how is that? One last time, let me play it for you from the top.
But the one thing I know is I trust God. He is for us, He is with us, and He goes before us. So God bless you guys. And I want to tell you something. Sure. Look at your actions. Look at what you've done over the last year. Why have you done it? Why did you believe what you believe and pushed into those actions? And then, if you want a different path in front of you, start changing what you believe and who you believe. So, to Leon.
There he comes.
Yeah. Okay, you can have it. Yeah. You can have it. You can have it.
Wow, that's sad. Things like this happen in South Africa quite often. I've been mugged. They tried to take my cell phone at one point. Women have been mugged. So many people have been robbed of their cell phones. They take your cell phone, they take your car, they take stuff that they would go sell and just get enough money to drink alcohol, to buy drugs, that kind of stuff. That happens. But for me, the moral of this video and the lesson is the cost of the gospel. What if this guy who had a knife had stabbed this pastor? What if this guy had stabbed the pastor? So for me, if you want to live like Christ, if you want to preach the gospel, if you want to obey Christ, if you want to be a real Christian and do your best and walk in obedience, there's a price, there's a cost to it. Obviously, he's going to lose his cell phone. Some people would say, well, it's just a cell phone. You know, obviously, he's going to be traumatized, maybe traumatize him or his kids or his wife, and people in the community. And there's so many that are watching, But for him to get out of his house and come on the street, he didn't go to another place. He was just outside his home, just so he can deliver and preach what God has laid in his head, in him at that point. That's very important. So there's a cost for everything. What are you ready? What risk are you ready to take for the truth? So others would hear the truth. So you can live the truth yourself. So you would not just be, somebody who talks the talks and does not walk the walk. I've seen people, because of cell phone, they were shot, they were stabbed, they were killed because of cell phone. Because some criminal just wanted your cell phone. You give it to him, but they will still stab you and kill you, or they shoot you and kill you. And I think there are a lot of other pastors like this pastor here in Durban who put their lives on the line. Sometimes we don't even know how pastors, what they do, how the risk that they take just to be able to make sure that the congregation is fed. The congregation feels like the pastor is shepherding them the way that it should be. Remember, the pastor is like a shepherd. And the shepherd does whatever it takes to make sure the sheep is together. The sheep is well fed. The sheep is taken to the waters. The sheep gets the right nutrition. At the end of the day, he wants to make sure that the sheep goes back home healthy and well fed. Just like the pastor wants you to go back home, that is heaven, healthy and well fed. So there's always a price. I want to share with us, a scripture. Just to share with us just one scripture from Matthew chapter 5, verse 10. It says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. You are persecuted. Sometimes when we get persecuted, we want to pray God to take us out of the persecution. Instead of praying and saying, "Lord, thank you. I praise you because I am blessed. Because I stand for righteousness. I stand for truth." The reward is the kingdom of heaven. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven is not just saying the kingdom of heaven is going to be when you go to heaven. The kingdom of heaven could be here. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So the challenge is, what is that risk that you need to take for righteousness? What is that risk that you need to take for truth? Sometimes you are afraid of people. You don't want to tell them the truth. You're afraid of your leaders. You're afraid of your pastors. Yes. And now when I say tell them the truth, I say you tell them the truth in love. You don't become all arrogant and all prideful. What are the things that God is saying? Take a risk. I'm with you. Take a risk for the gospel. The gospel is very expensive. It will cost you. It has cost me and my family so much. From money to our time, to our resources, to, our mental health. So don't think it's just going to be all easy and everything is just going to run smooth. Sometimes it's not that way. And this pastor, and so many other pastors across Africa and across the world that are standing for righteousness and doing whatever it takes to make sure that the gospel still reaches people. We must continue to pray for them. We must continue to applaud them. We must continue to encourage them. That is important. Crime is always going to be with us. Immorality is always going to be with us. Sin is always going to be with us, and it will manifest itself in so many different ways. But what is you and I doing that is going to make sure we lead others to the path of righteousness? Even if it's going to cost us our time, cost us our resources, cost us, our intellectual property, cost us so many different things. That's what God wants us to do. To put everything all out there and say, Lord, I would go. I would do. For me, sometimes I don't even count the cost. I just put it in. Once I hear the voice of God, I just jump in. And later on, I see myself in it. I'm like, oh, wow, Lord, you never told me that this is what is going to cost me. You never told me that the price to pay is so much. But anyway, I'm glad that I took the step. Because sometimes when I sit down and begin to measure, when God says for you to do something, you begin to measure the cost. You over measure the cost, what is going to cost you, and then you don't jump in. Sometimes you just need to jump in and just trust God that God is going to help you when you get in there. Because sometimes when you over evaluate the cost, that itself may just be bringing doubt. It might just bring in fear. It might just bring in discouragement. But God is looking for those who will stand for truth and for righteousness. That's what he's looking for. I see quite a few comments here. Mommy here is saying, I'm sure you're from Nigeria. Nigeria is not worse off compared to South Africa. Salma here is saying, here you are saving souls as Satan is fighting you. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. That's one way to look at it. Folasha Day is saying, this is so bad. I don't expect this from South Africa. I thought Nigeria is worse off. Sin is sin. Sin is the same everywhere you go to. Tabo here is saying, it's very sad because last 2 weeks they stole the whole sound system in our church. Our sound was more than 600,000 rand. It's all gone. Wow. So sad to hear that. So sad to hear that. Pearl here is saying, Uncle Solomon, even in the Bible, Stephen was stoned for the truth. That's what it takes. Would you see it as a privilege to be stoned for the truth, to be murdered, to be killed for the truth? Would you do that? Would you? Pearl here is saying, absolutely, if he was stabbed, it was another thing. Hence, I said, we thank God for his life. Another comment, we live in a very wicked world. May God help us. Yeah, there's quite a lot of comments here. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Janet from Salma here is saying, in Namibia, it can be blocked if you have a serial number in the statement from the police. Yeah, that's the cell phone. But I want to encourage you and encourage every one of us. There are great pastors, great prophets, great apostles, great bishops out there. Let's continue to pray for them. Let's be aware of the charlatans and the fake pastors and the false prophets and those who are pulpit criminals. There are many pulpit criminals. Let's know those who are pulpit criminals. And what we need to do is we keep exposing them. But then on the one side, there are those who are leaders, pastors, who are really seeking after righteousness, who are out there trying to do what God said to do. Let's keep praying for them. Let's keep supporting them. That is important. Thank you, guys. Just wanted to share this with you. And I just speak God's blessings over you. I wanted to talk about, I'm in Durban, so I couldn't do quite a bit of interviews. When I get back to Joburg next week, I'm going to do some interviews. There's quite some interviews that I'm going to do with Bisola. Bisola that spent quite a lot of times in in with TB Joshua. I was talking to her 2 days ago or so. She sent me a message. The last 3 days, yeah, we've been talking almost every day or so. I've interviewed her here before. You can check out the video. And I'm going to talk to also a pastor who was a serial cheater on his wife. You know, like serially, it was an addiction. But God saved him. That's our God. So I'm going to bring that all up, and then we're all going to look at it. So thank you so much. God bless you. Please make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel right away. Share the video, and I'll see you again soon.
Marriage. Of course, marriage is not your normal bump and face kind of relationship. It brings both excitement and disappointments. If you find yourself married in community of property and often delayed in your business transactions and dealings, worry no more. Because Masinya Attorneys uses the law to help you change from in community of property to out of community of property and vice versa. Call Masinya Attorneys today on 084 383 7747. We will sort you out with a high court application, and of course you get to keep your spouse. That's Masinya Attorneys on 084 383 7747.